Welcome to Module 13. I am very glad you are joining us today. You will see images of the PDF for this module on the screen so that you can reference it later in your studies. As always, thank you for your graciousness as AI has enabled the translation, voiceover, and avatar features of these videos. Please feel free to reach out with any errors so that we can improve the resources. Many professionals know how to share information. Fewer know how to shape information so that it leads to understanding, alignment, and action. That is the goal of this module. We will look at 3 practical communication situations. First, persuasive recommendations. Second, persuasive briefings and updates. Third, persuasive requests. Across all 3, the same principle applies. Do not just share information. Explain why it matters, how it connects to priorities, and what should happen next. In the last module, we focused on diplomatic language and cultural awareness. We talked about how to choose language that protects trust, reduces tension, and helps communication move forward. Today, we take the next step. This module is about advanced persuasive messaging in professional settings. Last module, you worked on tone, tact, and cultural awareness. Those skills still matter here. But now the focus shifts from diplomacy in general to executive messaging in practice. In other words, how do you use persuasive language in the real rhythm of work? Not only in a formal presentation, also in a recommendation, also in an update, also in a request. The goal is to communicate with clarity, credibility, and strategic purpose in real workplace situations. Persuasion is not only for pitches. Professionals use persuasive messaging when they recommend a course of action, explain why an issue matters, request support or resources, align teams around a next step, or frame updates in a strategic way. That is an important shift. The question is not only what happened. The stronger question is, what does this mean? And what should happen next? That is the beginning of executive communication. Let us begin with persuasive recommendations. A recommendation becomes stronger when it includes 4 things: a clear position, a practical rationale, strategic value, and awareness of audience priorities. Saying, "I think option B is better," is not very persuasive. It gives a preference, but not much else. A stronger message sounds like this: I recommend option B because it is more feasible, less disruptive, and better aligned with our timeline. Now the audience has something to evaluate. They can hear the logic, they can hear the value, and they can see why the recommendation matters. Here is another important shift. Strong professionals do not only report facts, they explain what the facts mean. For example, sales declined by 8% this quarter is information, but it is not yet insight. A stronger message is, sales declined by 8% this quarter, which suggests we may need to revisit pricing, messaging, or market focus. Now the audience understands the implication. This is a core rule in executive messaging. Do not just describe the issue. Explain the implication. The same idea applies to briefings and updates. A strong update usually answers 3 questions. What changed? Why does it matter? What should happen next? If your update answers only the first question, it may be informative, but it is not yet persuasive. Useful executive language includes phrases like, "This development matters because," "The main implication is," and "Based on this, the next step should be." That kind of framing helps your audience move quickly from information to decision. And in many professional settings, that is exactly what good communication is supposed to do. Now let us look at persuasive requests. Many persuasive moments at work involve asking for something: approval, resources, time, cooperation, or a decision. A persuasive request should include three things: a clear ask, a reason, and a business benefit. If you simply say, "Can you help with this?" the request is too vague. But if you say, "Could you approve this by Thursday so that we can stay on schedule for implementation?" the message becomes stronger. It is clear, it is specific, and it shows why the request matters. Here is where professional persuasion becomes more strategic. People do not all make decisions in the same way. Different audiences may prioritize different things. Some care most about speed. Others care most about accuracy. Others focus on cost, stability, innovation, or risk reduction. That means persuasive messaging should adapt to the audience's decision style and value framework. This is where many good messages become great messages. They stop sounding generic, and they start sounding relevant. A useful question to ask is this: what does this audience see as a strong reason to say yes? One useful way to think about this is the audience's decision matrix. A decision matrix is the set of factors a person or organization uses to evaluate options. Those factors may include cost, timing, feasibility, political sensitivity, public perception, long-term impact, or operational simplicity. Strong communicators do not guess blindly. They ask, what matters most to this audience? What concerns are likely to shape the decision? And which value proposition will resonate most? When you know the matrix, you can frame the message more effectively. You can lead with what matters. At this stage, several words become especially useful: recommendation, rationale, implication, alignment, feasible, strategic value. These are not just vocabulary words, they are thinking tools. They help you move from opinion to reasoning, from detail to meaning, and from information to influence. When professionals use this language well, they sound more precise, more credible, and more executive. There are also several messaging patterns that are especially useful in executive communication. When making a recommendation, you might say, "I recommend this approach because," or "the strongest option appears to be." When explaining significance, you might say, "This matters because," or "the main implication is." When making a request, you might say, "We are requesting approval to," or "To stay on schedule, we would need." And when creating alignment, you might say, "This supports our broader objective of," or "This is consistent with your priority on." These patterns help messages sound focused, purposeful, and actionable. Let me give you 4 practical rules for stronger professional messaging. Do not just describe the issue. Explain the implication. Do not just make a request. Justify the request. Do not just share an idea. Show its strategic value. And do not just give an update. Clarify the next step. These are small shifts, but they make a big difference. They help messages sound more executive, more persuasive, and more useful. This week, I also want you to pay attention to a few useful expressions. One is make the case. This means to present convincing reasons in support of a proposal or decision. Another is support the objective. This means to help advance a larger goal or priority. And another is move the discussion forward. This means to help a conversation become more productive and more action-oriented. These expressions matter because they reflect a practical, professional mindset. They keep communication tied to purpose. Now pause for reflection. Think about a recent professional message you gave or received. Did it include a clear recommendation, a strong rationale, a clear implication, a next step? Did the message simply share information, or did it also shape understanding and action? That is the real test. This week, I want you to practice strengthening the message. Take a sentence such as, I think we should change vendors, and make it more persuasive. Take a sentence such as, there were some delays this month, and make it more strategic. Take a sentence such as, can you respond soon? And make it clearer and more actionable. The goal is to add rationale, implication, strategic value, or a more precise next step. In other words, say a little more, but make it count. Let me close with this. Persuasive messaging in professional settings often happens through recommendations, updates, and requests. Strong messages explain not only what is happening, but why it matters. Different audiences make decisions according to different values and different decision criteria. And executive-level communication connects ideas to priorities, implications, and next steps. That is the heart of this module. Not just saying more, but saying what matters most, and saying it in a way that moves people toward clarity and action. In the next module, we will focus on strategic relationship management and professional influence across teams, stakeholders, and long-term professional partnerships. Shukran. Thank you for your time and thoughtful engagement. I look forward to continuing with you in the next module.